that correct?
Yes, so I'm actually declared general studies, but I'm going into recreational management. But pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you've previously worked for the Disney company before, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Are you an international student in the U.S. on a visa?
I am not.
And you might be aware, but all of our roles in the parks and resorts, they do require you to wear a costume and comply with the Disney look and appearance guidelines. Are you familiar with those guidelines and receptive to them?
Yes, I am.
And for costuming purposes, we just have some questions regarding body modifications that would be visible outside of a tank top or shorts. And the first being if you have any tattoos,
I do not.
any dermal piercings or ear gauges.
No, I only have one regular piercing in my earlobes. That's it.
Okay, no other piercings, nose, or anything.
Nope.
Okay, and some of our rules might require you to operate a vehicle. Do you have a valid U.S. driver's license?
Yes, I do.
And I saw on your application that you're open to both the Walt Disney World program in Florida and Disneyland in California. Your first choice you have here is Florida, where you're open to you have the 7 month program down. Do you want me to put the 5 month down as a second choice, or are you only open to the 7 month?
I'm open to the 5 as well.
Okay. Just wanted to double check because I know like trimesters could be.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of confuse me, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let me just make it. Okay. Did you have a chance to look at the different arrival and departure dates yet?
Um, I looked over it a little bit. It's in like May for arrival and January for
Yeah.
departure for the 7 month, right?
Yeah, May 13th, May 20th, or June 3rd. And then we also have arrival dates on August 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th, and September 3rd. All those would have a departure date of January 2nd, okay?
Okay.
And then you indicated that you've lived independently, and I wondered if you've had roommates before.
Yes, I have.
How do you all resolve any challenges or conflicts when they arise?
Okay. So I actually have like a specific experience that I've thought of, and I had this my very first time like having roommates. My like the roommate in my bedroom, like my room roommate. We uh, we were all like sleeping out in the living room one night, and she actually had a seizure, and she'd never had that before, and it caused like helped us really like bond together as roommates. And before that, we had several like issues, and to resolve it prior to that experience, we had like meetings. We had weekly meetings on Sunday nights, and we'd just get together and talk about any issues we were having, and then we'd all resolve them together. And that's what I've done in the past, and it usually works out.
Yeah. On our program, you could have anywhere from 1 to 7 roommates living with double or triple occupancy in a bedroom. Some of your roommates could be from another country or, just people who have different backgrounds than your own. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I love that. I've had a roommate from Mexico before, and it was one of the like coolest experience ever. I love learning about different like people and cultures and where they're from.
Great. So, tell me, what you're wanting to do with your degree and future, kind of what direction you're wanting to go in.
Okay, so actually one of my like dreams or goals is to be able to work for the Disney company, and that's part of the reason why I've chosen recreational management is a lot of that has to do with like amusement park and like that sort of like working and like working with people and like the in that environment.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, what skills are you hoping to learn or gain that might help you, in your opinion?
I think it'll be super awesome to learn how to like work with big like groups of people at once and be able to know how to like um, uh, talk to different like people that come from different places and different like backgrounds all come together into one big place to be able to meet like hundreds and thousands of people from everywhere in one day. Being able to help them solve their problems is an awesome skill that I'd love to be able to obtain and work on.
So, will
Yes. So I currently work at a salad shop where we just make like all organic food for whoever and like all dietary type foods. And it's super awesome because I get to be one of the people who like make all of it and like who like get to interact with the customers and learn like what they have to deal with and being able to do that and have that as a skill. And then I've also something I think I forgot to put on my application is I refereed junior high tackle football for a while this last fall. And so that was super awesome because I got to deal with people who were upset at me. Usually parents would get very upset during
Yeah.
because there was some pretty intense games that would go on like championships and stuff for like freshman football. And so it was interesting and fun to be able to deal with like the dads and the coaches who would come onto the field and I would get yelled at a lot, especially because I'm like female and they just that sometimes bothered them a little bit, but it taught me like a lot and how to be able to deal with in like super rough situations like that. And so that was cool. And then I've also nannied. I was a nanny in Florida actually for a few months.
Okay, very good. So do you like working extremely fast paced or do you prefer a more moderate steady pace?
I like fast pace.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so when you have a lot of different tasks you need to get done in a short amount of time, either at school or with work, how do you manage those situations?
I personally feel like my best method is to make a list either mentally or like physically of what needs to get done first and do it in order of like priority and what is most important and needs to be done immediately and then get every task done in a timely manner but make sure you accomplish the essential ones first.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We hear from our former participants that they're surprised by the amount of time they were standing and walking in their roles, as well as the heat to which they were exposed. We can't guarantee an indoor or outdoor location. So, I mean, how do you feel about working outside and all the elements?
I'm totally fine with that. I love being outside and I'm originally from Arizona, which is a pretty hot place. And then I've lived in Florida before and have been exposed to the Florida weather and
Yeah.
humidity and heat.
Okay. And so I was wondering if you could think of a time maybe when you had to deal with a difficult guest situation and maybe share what you learned from it or what would you have done differently in the future?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So I've worked a lot of food jobs, so I've had to deal with customers that way and guests that way. And when I worked at a Jimmy John's for a while, and I was working the drive-through, and the drive-through was very backed up. And I handed a guest a sandwich, and it ended up being the wrong one, and I just accidentally switched two, and then he ended up coming inside and getting kind of upset, and I apologized and I took care of it and we let him keep the one that was a mistake and then we made him a new one of the one he actually wanted and then we're able to fix that and give him what he needed in as quick as possible. And from that I learned to like make sure to like always double check and if you don't get it right on the first time, just make sure you fix it as soon as you like make sure you fix it so everybody's happy in the situation. And yeah.
Good, yeah. And so can you tell me how you've made safety a priority at any of your work locations? Because that's obviously so important to us here.
Oh yeah, for sure. When I was a nanny, that was a big part. I was a live-in nanny for 6 children, and the parents traveled a lot, and so I was usually the only one there, like the only adult with them. And so being like so safety was like a very essential thing because it made my job a lot easier if everyone was safe and like everything was put together. Because if anything was unsafe, then that would cause it would be very difficult. So the first step is to make sure everyone was safe and together. And if anything, like there was a pool in the backyard, so we always and there was a 1 year old, so we had to always make sure that the gates were closed and everything was locked up, and that was very important for me. Like when I'd get up in the morning, the first thing I would do would be make sure that the pool was not accessible by any of the younger children or any of the ones who couldn't swim. And that was just the most important thing is safety and making sure that no one gets hurt.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. For
Mm-hmm.
sure. Well, let's take a turn and look at some of the roles you had on your checklist here. I wanted to start with the character performer
I was not. I didn't realize that that was a requirement before putting it on there, and then after I did it, I realized, and I wasn't able to attend one.
Yeah, no problem. We can just focus on all the other roles you have here. So, you have a little interest in the house person role. Can you tell me why?
I just think it'd be fun to be able to. Is that like that's a housekeeper, correct?
Well, they assist the housekeepers. So you could be helping them maybe strip or make beds, stocking and organizing storage rooms or carts for them. It is pretty physically demanding, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just think like I've had experience like going to hotels and like helping out because I've had a lot of like friends and family members who have worked in hotels. And I think
Mhm.
it's a lot of fun to be able to do that sort of thing just from like being able to like help get the rooms back into like their organized ways. But then also the like interaction with guests just through like the hallways and that sort of thing is awesome to me.
And then you had a little interest in lifeguard. Do you consider yourself to be an extremely strong swimmer?
Yeah, I'm a pretty strong swimmer.
And are you confident you could pass the required swim test of swimming 200 yards, freestyle or breaststroke, retrieving a 10-pound brick from the deep section of the pool, and treading water with your hands out for 2 minutes?
I'd have to train, but I probably would be able to do that.
What made you interested in lifeguarding?
I've been when I was like 14 or 13, I was a swim instructor at the public pool in my neighborhood. And I just thought it was a lot of fun to be able to be with the kids and being able to work with that and like being able to be by the water and that sort of stuff.
And then you also had quick service food and beverage now, and you've talked about your experiences there. In addition to taking orders and helping our guests, you'd also probably be prepping and cooking food. So are you still comfortable in a kitchen environment?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then you had merchandise down. So are you comfortable with heavy lifting in case you helped with any stroller and wheelchair rentals in that role?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And do you tell me why you enjoy selling? Kind of what made you interested in retail?
Um, because I feel like you get a lot of like guest and like people interaction that way. And I love to like talk to people and get to know tons of different people and be able to interact with a lot of different ones. And so being able to meet them through that sort of thing and like helping them like get what they want and what they desire and just being able to like see their like like because you're always so happy when you like get a new thing or like get a souvenir from like Disney, and I would just love to be able to assist in that process.
And obviously, wanted to look at recreation since that's going to be your major. Here, you could be, operating water slides at the water parks, attending to guests in the spas and fitness centers, and renting boats at the marina. So, have you ever piloted a watercraft before?
I have not. I've ridden in many, but I've never piloted one.
Are you comfortable learning that, being responsible for that?
Yeah, I'd be totally okay with learning.
And what would you do if a guest refused to wear a life vest while they were renting a boat?
I would talk to them about it. I'd be like, I'm sorry, we need you to do this. It's for your safety. Like, you need to wear a life vest because you never know what could go wrong and what could happen out there. Even if you're the most confident boat driver ever, or like you're the most like strongest swimmer you think you are, no matter what, something can always go wrong. So we would just really need you to wear this for us.
And with attractions, how do you feel about memorizing spiels and repeating them in front of large groups?
I love it. I have a history of like acting and that sort of stuff.
That role could also entail directing people in cars in a busy parking lot, or even driving one of the long parking trams. So, what are your thoughts on those responsibilities?
I'd be okay with them. I would love to drive one of the trams. I've driven a lot of larger vehicles and that sort of stuff, and I think it's fun. It's a big responsibility, but it's enjoyable to do.
Um, how would you handle a situation where a young guest approached you at your attraction and you discovered they were not quite tall enough to ride?
So I would personally, I'd want to bend down to like get on their level so they don't feel like I'm an adult talking to them, and then explain to them that they're just not quite tall enough to ride it, but they're definitely tall enough to ride and just list the rides that I know that they're tall enough to ride and enjoy, and explain to the parents the like swap method where like one can stay with the child if the group really wants to ride it and there's just one guest that's just not quite tall enough.
Yeah. Well, good. I know we might not have talked about all the roles on your checklist, but just like you agreed when you signed off on your application, we will be considering you for all the roles that you expressed an interest in. And based on the descriptions in the role checklist and the roles discussed today, are you able to perform the essential functions of the roles with or without a reasonable accommodation?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, very good. Well, those are all the questions I have for you. So let me share with you what happens from here. Are you familiar with your dashboard on the Disney Career Portal?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. I'm going to ask you to please keep an eye on that. We're going to be updating you there. And while we do make decisions continuously over the course of our season, it could be up until about the end of March before all the final decisions are made. So you'll just maybe keep an eye on that small bell in the upper right-hand corner. It'll let you know if there's been any changes, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, if you're accepted, you'll be getting information on how to accept or decline your offer, when to arrive, the role you'll have, classes available to you, and then contact information so you can get a hold of us if you have any further questions at that point, okay?
Okay.
Very good. Do you have any questions I can try and help you with right now?
Yeah, so I was just curious. I've heard about the volunteer program. Can you explain what that is to me a little bit?
Yeah, so we have just lots of opportunities to do volunteer work around the community. What we would do is communicate what those are in our weekly communication that goes out to all of our college students. And if that's something you want to do by yourself or with a group, sometimes work locations even go out and do stuff together. But we would give you those opportunities for sure.
Okay, and then I do have one more question. For you personally, what inspired you to work for Disney and how did you get started there?
Yeah, my story is a little unique, I think, and different from what you'll hear from when you ask other people. But I mean, I never even thought about working for Disney. I had a sports-specific background, so I was recruited for like a sports-specific sales position out at the Wide World of Sports complex. So I had met a sales rep at a sports convention a long time ago, and got to talking with them, and they had asked for my resume, and then 2 years later, I got a call out of the blue to come and interview for a position, and I got it, and that was 20 years ago. So here I am.
That's awesome.
Different, yeah.